forgot I was muted somewhere. I'm just starting the YouTube.
Yeah, no problem.
I forgot I was muted somewhere. I'm just starting the YouTube.
Yeah,
we're good to go.
We're good to go? Okay. All right, like I said before, my name is Tanya Sargent. I am the chair for SD42 DPAC for this school year.
Yeah, we're good to go.
We're good to go? Okay. Somebody has their YouTube on in the background? All right, like I said before, my name is Tanya Sargent. I am the chair for SD42 DPAC for this school year.
Yeah, we're good to go.
We're good to go? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We acknowledge and are grateful that the work of DPAC and our PACs takes place on the traditional and unceded territories of the Ekenemin-speaking people of the Katzie First Nation and Kwantlen First Nation. We also recognize all our First Nations, Métis, Inuit students and their families in our school communities. We also want to acknowledge the generational harm and tragedies caused to our Indigenous communities throughout the history of residential schools. If anybody would like any resources on reconciliation, there are some right on this slide, and they will be published as well with the minutes. Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and adopt the agenda. Can we have a motion for that? Seconded? And is there any discussion? Okay, we go ahead and pop the poll. Okay. And the agenda has been adopted as distributed. Thank you. The minutes were distributed via email prior to this meeting. Reminder that only DPAC reps can vote in our polls. And I need a motion that the DPAC minutes of October 21st, 2021 be approved as distributed. Paulina, seconded. Katie? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, go ahead and pop that poll. And the minutes have been approved as distributed. Motion carried. Okay, and I've already introduced myself. And tonight we have a presentation on racial inclusivity and equity. And presenting tonight is Mr. Kenneth Higley, who is the vice principal, one of the vice principals at MRSS. I'd like to go ahead.
Hi, DPAC. How's everybody doing today? My name is Kenneth Headley. I am currently the vice principal at Maple Ridge Secondary. I am also currently the district vice principal 1 day a week for racial inclusivity and equity. On the Zoom with me tonight is my helping teacher, or our helping teacher in the district, Amy Laidlaw. So Amy, would you like to say a quick hi to everybody?
Hi, sorry, I'm just getting myself set up in the hallway.
All right, so we're going to do a quick presentation. I think we have about 20 minutes or so to kind of tell you the work of racial inclusivity and equity in the Anti-Racism Committee, and how we kind of got here, and where we're going, or where we are right now, and where we're going over the next year to get our schools and school communities more inclusive and safe for everybody to see themselves and be honored in school. And so next slide, please. So land acknowledgement was already taken, so I'm not going to spend any more time, but I do want to let you know I'm coming to you from my house in Surrey, which is the unceded territories of the Semiahmoo, Kwantlen, Katzie, and other Coast Salish people as well. And so it's Tsawwassen peoples as well. And so I just want to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from this land, and that the work that we do here is really important to honor and again, project the excellence of the communities that have been here for thousands of years. So I would like to acknowledge that. Amy?
So I'll just introduce all of us briefly and how we kind of came to be. So Wayne Chow, Carl Lindgren Stryker, and Grant Friend, as well as Kenneth and myself, started having conversations about racial equity, and we continue to work together as a team. They're part of our anti-racism committee, and we're always in conversation and consultation with them as well. I'm sorry if it's echoey, I'm just in a school right now.
All right, next slide, please. So really quickly, the beauty of anti-racism, Ijeoma Oluwa's work, so you want to talk about race. The beauty of anti-racism is that you don't have to pretend to be free of racism to be anti-racist. Anti-racism is the commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself, and it's the only way forward. We are actually using this book as an anchor book with all our district managers and senior team leaders, and in some of our schools as working groups to start having those courageous conversations about race. And so Ijeoma Oluwa's work is a really good access point for everybody to start beginning to have these conversations about anti-racism in their school. Next slide, please. So really, how did we get here? So May 26th, 2020, George Floyd was murdered, and everybody, because of the pandemic, were on their phones, on the news. We were able to see the gruesome reality of some lived experiences of members of racialized groups in North Then And so in a feeling of despair became a movement of hope. Grant, Wayne, Carl, and I started to have conversations. We sent a message to then Superintendent Sylvia Russell that we felt that we needed to do some work in the district to make a statement and to let all our families of color or marginalized families know that we are moving forward, and also our non-marginalized families to know as well that we want to do this work together as allies so we can make meaningful change so situations like that wouldn't happen in the future. And so Sylvia championed that conversation for a bit, and then we were lucky to get Harry as our superintendent as well. In that November, Shannon Durenzi reached out to us, and we created the Anti-Racism Committee, and then we were able to get some positions to do this work, to kind of guide this work in the district through the Safe and Caring Schools program in our district. So that's how we kind of got here really quickly. Next slide, please. And so, as you see, there was the death of George Floyd. In Canada, we had the death of a young Indigenous woman by the name of Chantal Moore. You also had hate crime, Asian hate in the terms, or anti-Asian hate in the terms of, the COVID comments and racist views that were said about Asian people in the terms of the pandemic, and Vancouver kind of being somewhat of a leader in anti-Asian hate. Breonna Taylor, all these type of racialized hate actions that took place kind of led to a consciousness that we need to make change, and that we could do so with our young students and our school communities so that we could allow for that change to take place. So next slide, please. At the same time, we also had a rise in reported acts of racist hate in our district. We were starting to hear more racialized language or racist language on school playgrounds. We started to notice that there were more fights taking place that were based in racism. And so we needed to find a way to respond to these situations that were taking place in a meaningful way, but in a way that is supportive and focuses on learning and growth, but also like, we just need to make change. This doesn't happen to our school community. So we ended up starting to work together to make that change happen. Next slide, please. Amy?
And so the reason that we're reading our work is really about the students. And a lot of it is not just what they're learning in terms of how powerful the social movements have been online, in terms of Black Lives Matter, in terms of land back movements that Indigenous students are seeing, but we also recognize that there is the opposite of those movements. There's the Candace Owens, there's the Donald Trumps that are also educating our youth. And so we felt that it was really important that we as educators have a role in making sure that students are understanding the importance of racial equity and diversity within their school systems in order to make sure that we are generating a new generation with a different mindset that will become the police officers, the firefighters, the doctors, the teachers of the future, that hopefully will not carry with them some of the same oppression and racist ideas that the dominant culture has held for so long.
Next slide, please. And so that anti-racism committee, planning committee was struck in November of 2020, and we had a call out of representatives within the district from QP to the MRTA to the Maple Ridge Principals and Vice Principals Association. We have racialized staff and non-racialized staff on the committee. It's about 20 members from all partner groups that meet to, first we did a little bit of healing and learning at the beginning, but really now focusing on what actions we can take to move the district forward to combat racism in our school communities. Next slide, please. And so the Anti-Racism Planning Committee, we have a bunch of subcommittees, and our subcommittees are working on a few different things right now. Cultural calendar and announcements. We are looking at policy procedure review of the SD42 policy of 9410 and looking at other policies from other districts to inform what we will be doing to move forward to have that foundational piece. Resources and implementation, we're looking at collecting stories and data, and that's kind of our big push for this year, is to hear from our families, to hear from our school communities, to hear from our staff, what their experiences with race and racism has been like in our district, and then what steps we can do to move forward. Hiring and recruitment processes, so we could gather more racialized staff that could show and share with our students that representation that's needed so that they can see themselves in the classroom, but also in the curriculum. Professional development, we've been doing a lot of training and professional development opportunities in our district to have more teachers engage in anti-racist education, culturally responsive teaching, and so forth. And then barriers to engagement, we're starting to have this conversation. So what are some barriers out there that are stopping staff and students from having the full inclusive educational experience that they need to be successful moving forward? Next slide, please. Amy, do you want to talk about a couple of these, or?
I'll talk about the next one.
Sure. So last year, Maple Ridge, the Maple Ridge School District sponsored and supported an event known over Black History Month that looked at lifting up Black voices in a youth conference brought together with 3,500 other students across North America or across the Lower Mainland. And so Selma Babaker, who was a student at Thomas Haney, who created her own club that was called the Diversify Your Narrative Club, spoke about colorism and some of the racism that she's faced in being a darker skinned girl, and the perceptions of beauty that comes along with westernized culture, and how she may not fit that, and how she challenges and combats that on a daily basis. And it was super powerful. It was really great to have a student kind of lead this conversation across the Lower Mainland, but it was also powerful to have, like I said, 3,500 students take place in a conversation race, racism, about uplifting their voices over Black History Month. So that was something that was super exciting. Next slide, please.
And so in January, we had Black Shirt Day, which will be renamed, and Kenneth can maybe speak to a little bit of that after. But Westview students decided that they really wanted to spread the word and to have their students at their school participate in this day. So they had put up posters around the school. They were making announcements on a daily basis, but then what they started to find is that the posters were being ripped off of the walls and thrown into garbage cans by some of the other students at the school. And so in the bottom left side of the pictures there, you'll see that they have black electric tape that they've put on the wall in the shape of a shirt with a message in the middle that said, "You can tear us down, but we will still stand up. Black Lives Matter." And so the students took it upon themselves to create an entire hallway towards the movement. And as a result of that, there were a number of students who previously hadn't seen themselves represented in the school finally being represented. And there was an immense amount of pride in what they were doing and voice that they felt that they hadn't had before being displayed. And one student in particular has actually gone on to post-secondary and is now specializing in racial diversity and inclusion as a result of feeling the empowerment that took place in the school.
And just so to add on to kind of what Amy says there, Black Shirt Day last year, it's inaugural year, and there's lots of learning in anti-racism work. It's a continuous journey. And so after conversations with the Jewish community about Black shirts in Italy and the oppression that they faced throughout the world wars, the conversation with that community, we all came to the decision that wearing a black shirt is not a bad thing, but the name was harmful to the Jewish community. So in essence, through those conversations, Black Excellence Day is what's going to take place this year. And so we are hoping to get students in schools to kind of celebrate civil rights movements and social movements towards racial equity on that day throughout our district. And so next slide, please. So over the years, as we started to do this work, as I worked in Surrey and in other places before, this is what students tell us about how racism makes them feel. So they feel a sense of being isolated and an outsider in the community, this pressure to prove oneself and defy stereotypes. They feel stress related to being seen as a representative of one's community. They're always fearful, anxious, frustrated, helpless, depressed, or angry because they can't deny who they are when they walk into classrooms or in school communities and they're hearing this language in the hallways or outside on the playground. Considering dropping out of school or transferring to other schools, difficulties with concentration and motivation in class when you're constantly hearing that language or being harmed, it's hard to stay focused. And so being unsure or confused whether or not they're not being treated differently because of their race or ethnicity. These are kinds of the statements that students have shared with us as we started this work in district, but in other districts across the province as well. Next slide, please. And so in that essence, you have these mental health effects, and that's why this connects well with our Safer Schools program. And so anxiety, depression, disassociation, they shut down and give up. They limit their options of what they can be, which is what we don't want any student to do. We want students to be whatever they can be and to work towards those goals and those structures that allow them to do so. They overcompensate. They either start making fun of themselves or that leads to self-degradation or self-hatred. And I've been guilty of that as a young Black man going to school in Surrey when I was growing up, that I would make fun of myself first because it was easier for me to make the punchline than to have other people do the punchline. So we really don't want to weaken any of our children's spirits in schools. We want their spirits to thrive and for them to be who they are. And so in doing this work as a basis of the educational stuff that's out there, or the educational program that's out there, we're hoping that we are able to see them see themselves fully and become themselves fully as they need to be moving forward. Next slide, please. And so this is not an add-on. This is in our curriculum. It's in our core competencies for communication thinking and personal and social responsibility. If you look at the green kind of square and triangle there for personal and social responsibility or competency, that positive and personal cultural identity piece, that personal awareness piece, and that social responsibility piece that's there, that is part of the work. If you think of the critical thinking, we want our students not just to hear one side, we want them to listen to diverse perspectives and voices so they can have a multifaceted view and worldview of our schools, and communication using their voice to help make change for others. And so that's what we are hoping to inspire our students to do when we do this work with them moving forward. Next slide, please. Amy, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so this isn't just something that our district is doing. The Ministry of Education is actually getting ready to roll out their own anti-racism curriculum, essentially, and plan in terms of moving forward as a province to recognize more diverse voices within the curriculum across the entire province. So again, it's embedded within our curriculum now, but this is going to actually speak specifically to anti-racism and anti-Indigenous, anti-Black, anti-Asian racism that is experiencing or students experience within our educational system.
Next slide, please. And so this is also part of our district, right? Our district vision, you know, the colorful hands of the tree of inclusivity in our district. Our vision is for every individual to feel valued and for all learners to reach their full potential. That's everything that we've shared with you. And this is just another aspect of allowing that to happen for students. Our mission is to support all individuals in their development as successful learners and as respectful and caring and responsible members of society. And when we engage in this work, it allows our racialized and non-racialized students to see each other for who they are and honor those identities in the classroom, so we can create respectful, caring, and responsible members in our society. So this aligns well with our district vision, goals, and mandate. Next slide, please. So next steps forward. So this is a lot of the work that we are talking about with the Anti-Racism Committee and with our district leaders moving forward. So that listening, learning, and healing piece, talking about community engagement, stakeholder engagement, and community mentorship. So over the next little bit, creating a plan so that we could hear the voices of our families, our community stakeholders, our students, our staff, so they can give us an idea of what's happening and a better view of what's taking place in our district, a better understanding of what's taking place in our district in the terms of race and racism. Looking at taking those data, student voices, experiences, develop that professional growth planning piece, and looking at school growth plans. Many of our schools this year have growth plans that focus on Indigenous ways of knowing, but also anti-racism pedagogy and being more inclusive in that perspective as well. Professional development, we've been doing a lot of learning at our superintendent's meetings and our manager meetings. District Plan Pro D, so the May convention will be focused on anti-racism as we move forward this year. School-based learning opportunities, lots of teachers are engaging in this work. Amy and I are lucky enough in our position to be able to visit schools and see and meet with teachers who are wanting to begin this work and provide them a framework to start this work and support them as they go through it. Support for all SD42 staff is a goal, and then anti-racism learning with our trustees is another piece. Safe and caring schools, as we said, this is where this comes in, and that's why it falls under this umbrella, is creating a response plan to acts of racism and develop consistent documentation of race acts within our district and how our admin teams respond to that, so we could better respond to our families and our school communities with our community groups and stakeholders, so we could provide that inclusive community vision and support moving forward. And so we hope to be able to do this work with the time that we have. It's not a whole lot of time, but we are grateful for any minute, any hour that we get to be able to push this framework and structure forward. And so next slide, please. So as Dr. Bettina Love says, to love all children, we must struggle together to create schools we are taught to believe are impossible. Schools built on justice, love, joy, and anti-racism, and seeing students for who they are and honoring that. Last slide, please. Amy?
An Indigenous scholar, Kevin Lamoureux, says, what we don't transform, we transmit. And so really for years and years and years, we've followed the same kind of curriculum that's been predominantly reinforcing the dominant culture. And so it's the time and space that if we really want to move forward as a society, we need to look at our practice and shift it and transform it in order to make sure we're disrupting the systems that are in place for our students.
Awesome. And Kevin Lamoureux will be our keynote speaker for the May convention. for our educators and community and also community staff members in the May convention. So we are so lucky to have him come and share his knowledge with our staff moving forward. And so as we come to the end here, we appreciate your willingness to engage in the beginning of this conversation. We hope there are opportunities for us to work with DPAC moving forward to engage in this work and to share with us what's happening in your schools and to have those conversations with your school communities. And so if there are any questions, Amy and I are here for a couple minutes to answer any questions that you may have about the work that's taking place right now. I think, Paulina, did you have a question?
I did, so did someone else as well, but I'll start, I guess.
Okay.
So I have a 15-year-old son, and he's not racist. He has friends of all races. He loves listening to his rap music. The words of his rap music make my skin crawl. But he loves his music. I don't let him listen to it when my younger kids are in the car, but he likes to listen to it when it's just me and him. And I tend to let him because he needs, I like he shares with me. He wants to share with me what he's doing, whatever it is. So, but I feel like the words that they use are so wrong. And then my question basically is, what do I do with this? Do I let him listen to the music? Do I tell him it's not appropriate? I don't know.
I mean, to really quickly answer that question, there are radio edits to all those songs that he could listen to that don't have the N-word or other racialized language. You know, rap music is something that's always a part of the conversations when we have these discussions with parents when something's happened or cool. They do. And I think the Black community from the 1970s after the death of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and kind of the slowdown of the civil rights movement, the reclamation or the reclaiming of the N-word was something that they felt that the community needed. Now, Black people are not a monolith, so there are lots of people that agree with that reclamation of that word, and there are others that don't. I think the most important piece that you could do with your kid is to have them do some research or walk alongside them or have them, you know, touch base with a teacher in school or even myself, if you would like this conversation to take place about the root of that word and that word is blood soaked and it comes from oppression and hatred. And maybe we could look at other ways to listen to that music without having that word as part of it or do some learning around that. And so we were willing to engage in that piece. We know that that's a popular culture piece. I'm not here to condemn Black people that are using that word or reclaiming that word. I can't condemn them because that's their lived experience. But I can say for those that are listening to the music, there are some things that we could look at and maybe some learning that we can do so that they're aware that maybe when they're listening to that song that they shouldn't be saying the word when they're listening to it, or if they are listening to it, can we listen to those radio edits so that word does not show up and so forth. So that would be kind of my initial response to that. And if your young student would love to have a conversation with me or anybody about that word, I'd be willing to do that. That is a conversation that we need to have with a lot of students in our schools right now, because I could openly say that is a word that comes up on a consistent basis whenever there's issues that take place. And so even talking to our teachers about using that word when they're teaching in class, you know, our classroom's a place to allow such a hateful word to be a place of learning or so forth. Can we control what students are feeling in that class when they hear that word? Those are all conversations we need to have moving forward when we talk about this. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. But
yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to do that work and provide some education for our young students moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't know who else had their hand up. I can't see everybody on my.
Hey, Leah, can you see me here? Hi.
Hi, Leah.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today, Ken. I am the mother of a Black son, so I can also lend a little perspective on the rap music and the N-word. And in our house, it is what we have taught our children, that not all words are for all people. And our Black son When he gets older, it is his prerogative if he wishes to use that word or not. Our white children will never be able to use that word, even if they're singing along to a rap song. When it comes to that word in the song, they are silent. And we have taught that to all of their friends. And I think it's not all words are meant for all people. If you're white or not Black, that word's not for you, period. So
Yeah.
that's
And
my
and I appreciate that so much. And that is the learning that needs to take place, right? So
yeah, because it's making a lot of so much angst. My poor son coming home and hearing the white kids saying that word, he hears it every day and it pierces his heart. It's horrible.
And we like we said earlier, we do not want to kill spirits. We want to encourage those spirits in school. So that's the work that we're willing to take on, and the district is willing to take on. And so that's what we're going to be talking about that at our next superintendent's meeting. So I love that it came up here today, because that's some learning that we need to do here. So
My question is, how are you going? Is your group going to be sending out questionnaires or having interviews with racialized kids in the school district? My son comes home almost every day with the new racist thing that happened to him, whether it be by a student or a teacher at school. And it's a problem. And I would love for him to be able to tell that to somebody so people know it's a problem. I mean, if it's what you were talking about, a teacher reading the N-word from a book, or what, a straight a racist incident with another student that doesn't get dealt with. I think it's important for him to be able to tell someone what's going on. Are you collecting information in any way? Like, how are you collecting information, your group?
Yeah, okay, so I'll answer that question for you, but I'm going to let Amy talk a little bit about the process that happened with the equity scan, and maybe how ours might be similar but a little bit different, okay?
So recently, the Aboriginal Education Department has launched an equity scan. Now, this is something that is taking place in conjunction with the Ministry of Education. And so we had a team from SFU come in, research assistants, and help derive questions that we felt were needed to be asked for our Indigenous students, our non-Indigenous students, our community members, our educators, our EAs, our administrators across the district. The research team gathered that data together, and they've completed a report that is quite lengthy, with recommendations that the district will move forward with, essentially. I can say, as a participant and a recorder of everything that was being said by students, it was not just anti-Indigenous racism that was brought up in the equity scan. There was discussion of all kinds of racism. So essentially, we will structure our questions, our consultation, in a similar structure, but I think we will look at a different format, and we really want to have as large a pool of street data as we can possibly have. So we are going to target staff meetings and make sure that all staff members in our district, or as many as humanly possible, will participate in that scan, as well as we're going to put it out on through the schools, through the principals. We've discussed putting the survey onto the school district website for community members to access, and really reiterating that we need input from families in order to shape our work and how we can make this a safer space for all of our learners, and then guide the education that our staff need, our students need across the district.
Yeah, so essentially we start off with that survey piece, as Amy kind of said, targeted at specific times, so that we could get our staff and our families taking part of that survey, and and our students as well. And then, as you mentioned there, at the end there, having that next piece after we kind of get that big satellite data going into that kind of street data where we're listening to stories of students and reaching out to schools, so schools could, once students, let us know in the survey that they would love to be a part of that next step of having conversations, or family members or whoever, that we reach out to them and we have those listening circles or focus group events so we could hear those stories that we could share with our district team. So that would be the process moving forward.
Okay, I missed last week's meeting, so maybe I've missed something, but the survey, what survey is this? And
so we haven't started the survey yet. We're in the process with our anti-racism committee and with senior team having discussions about what that survey would look like. And the goal is to have that survey ready to go out hopefully before the budget planning process, so in January or so. And then those questions go out to staff meetings, those questions go out to the community as a whole, and we get to hear from everybody. And then after that, have those focus groups conversations for people that have highlighted that they wanted to share a little bit more of their story so we could share that information with everybody. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for anybody? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So bad. I was just, thank you for jumping in. I'm so bad at wait time. That was my worst skill as a teacher, was sitting in that wait time there for a second. So we appreciate you all having us here today. Thank you for walking alongside us. And at any point, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to Amelia or myself. And we are willing to sit down and meet with you or answer any questions through email or any other correspondence you would like. So thank you for being here with us tonight, and hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your meeting. So.
Great. Thank you so much for coming. It's been very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Next up, we have our superintendent's report from the assistant superintendent, David Vander Guggen. I think I got that right. Maybe.
Very well done. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I also wanted to just do a shout out to Kenneth and Amy. We're so lucky to have them as part of our district, and they're doing some very important work in leading that. So Harry has asked me to cover off a number of items. The first one is the professional development day and some of the highlights of our most recent day, the upcoming convention, Monday's weather event that kind of took us all off guard, COVID exposure notices, and then finally, I'll talk a little bit about the K registration process and the dates that we just published. So I'll just jump right in. I'm going to give you a bit of a brief synopsis about our professional development days, because not everyone's aware of what sort of days we have in the district. So we have 5 days that we have for professional development for our staff. One of those days is the provincial day, which happens in the fall. We have 2 school-based days that happen throughout the year, and then we have 2 district days. So this past Pro D that we had was one of the district days, and we had a lot of different events that I'll go into in a few minutes. And then we have another usually district day in spring in May, or we'll have a convention. And you heard Kenneth talk about the convention that we have coming up. And that's a joint planned group. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that happens. So the October day, like I said, is a provincial day. The school-based days, schools are responsible for organizing the professional learning on those school-based days. The district days, we have a district Pro D committee. And so the district Pro D committee is Jennifer McDonald, who is district co-chair from the MRTA. It's myself representing as one of the co-chairs from the district, Andrea McInnes, vice principal of Glenwood, Kyla Cameron, vice principal of Eric Langdon. So that group, we look at what staffs need through surveys, through connections with other groups, and we try to put on exciting learning events. And this time we had quite a few learning events take place over the last day. Everything from nature journaling, standards-based grading, creating diversity clubs, anti-racism pedagogy, and technology training. There was over 1,000 registrations over many, many sessions. So we're pretty pleased with that. And this is the first time we've also done a hybrid event since the pandemic started. So during the pandemic, all of our sessions were Zoom based or online. This time we had a hybrid event where there were sessions scattered throughout the district, a lot of sessions at Thomas Haney, and then still sessions online. So it's good to see. I was there personally greeting people in the morning at Thomas Haney, and it was so nice to start to get that person-to-person connection happening again, and we're hoping to do more of that. The convention is slightly different. It's organized by a district convention committee, and that's really representative of the MRTA, QP, PVPA, and senior team. And so every second year normally, we have a convention. The MRTA staff participate in organizing that. And like you heard from Kenneth, we have Kevin Lamoureux as our keynote. He's going to be Zoom based, so we're not worrying about capacity in the gym in the spring. And we're going to really open that door up, so not only can our staff, but also our parents could participate in that. And it's really about truth and reconciliation. If you're not sure who Kevin is, he is a faculty member at the University of Winnipeg. He's a highly regarded public speaker. We've been able to see him on a couple of provincial days or provincial events. And his keynote really celebrates the importance of reconciliation for all students and the role that educators can play in really taking what we're supposed to be doing around truth and reconciliation and making action statements out of it. So we're pretty excited to have him as part of that as part of our district, and that's going to be happening on May 11th. So I don't know if you want to pause for questions between sections, or if you would just like me to sort of proceed.
You can just keep going if you.
Okay, sure. Harry also asked me to talk a little bit about Monday's weather event. I was commenting to one of my principals who lives in Abbotsford, who was struggling to get to work in the morning because of all the roads flooded. And he said, David, we've had fires, we've had heat, we've had plague. Now I'm dealing with floods. When are the locusts coming? And this year has been like no other. And it sounds like we've been saying that a lot lately, but the Monday's weather event, I think, took all of us off guard. Normally, when we're looking at closing schools or temporarily pausing school openings, it's because of snow events, something that we're normally have a good idea about early in the morning. But we lost power at 6 schools between 7:30 and 7:50 a.m., which really was unprecedented. And the heat was off in many of our schools since Friday evening. We had no power, and many of the buildings had no ventilation because they had no power. And we all know the importance of ventilation regarding our COVID requirements. So, we can't be opening schools unless we're getting proper air circulation. Emergency lighting in a lot of those sites would have been out because the batteries would have failed by about 8:30. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but a lot of our schools have these metal shutters that come down, and they're electrified. Their electric motors bring them up and down. And if we don't have any power, we can't get those up. So the schools are very dark. It's not like you can teach a class in the sunlight. And a lot of our staff work across or live it across the Lower Mainland. So, it was a struggle for many folks to get into school that day. And like I said earlier, normally we're doing a school closure announcement, say regarding snow days, by 6:30 in the morning. We're pretty good, and we do pride ourselves in strong communication around that. Our comms department posts that to social media, and I think through our parent portal we're pretty good at communicating these things. But Monday, both of our comms people live outside of Maple Ridge Pit Meadows. They were caught in traffic, and our principals were putting those notices out on the parent portal as the day progressed. So, you know, it was tough to close the schools. And then what made it more complicated is when some of the schools' power had come on, but by that time we had also sent the staff home except for the principals. So we couldn't readily just open the buildings up with no one in the buildings. And it also takes a while for these schools to get heated again, because they're quite a large building. And Harry wanted me to highlight, you know, we're in a very unusual circumstances throughout these past 2 years. In my career, and I think in his, we've never closed a school because of heat. And if you think back to Kanaka Creek in July, we had to close Kanaka because of the 40-degree temperatures. So we try to respond as timely as possible. And this Monday's weather event was just unprecedented. The second from last item that I have is the COVID exposure notifications. We get lots of questions from parents around this. We do have very defined protocols that we continue to follow. The notifications from Fraser Health come 7 days a week, every day at 2 o'clock. So they come to us as senior team, to our zonal assistant superintendents, and they come to the principal that's affected. And the vice principal. And we're on a rotating schedule of on call over weekends and holidays. So there is no break from these. These happen right throughout the school year. And we follow the direction of Fraser Health and contact the individuals that are affected, the self-isolation or self-monitor. Principals are very responsive 7 days a week with Fraser Health. Answering any of their questions for their contact tracing measures. And when we have self-isolation incidents, not only do we send a portal announcement to the affected family, but we also follow up with a phone call to ensure that they receive the message. And over the last 3 months, we've experienced an upward trend in COVID notifications. And we currently have 9 elementary schools and 2 secondary schools listed on the Fraser Health website. And we currently have a few schools on targeted measures, which will involve a cluster situation. And when we talk about targeted measures, we talk about increased measures that we put in sites where, for example, we're not mixing classes like we normally do. You know, you don't have your buddy class anymore. We have fairly stringent seating plans, and we try to not mix cohorts within the building. And again, we are trying to do our very best at communicating this in a timely manner. We do get a number of questions from families saying that, you know, why haven't we heard? I've heard on social media that this family has said that they've tested positive COVID. Well, we don't control the messaging. We don't decide on contact tracing measures. All of that happens at Fraser Health. And many times we may not see an announcement. And when we follow it up, they've said, well, you know, based on our contact tracing measures, the student or the adult was not in their infectious period when they were actually in attendance in school. So we're not the health experts in that area, but we do follow their directions. And then finally, we've just updated our website today with the registration dates for kindergarten. So I'll just quickly go over those. They are on the district website. So sibling opens on January 5th, 2022 and ends January 11th. We have choice opening on January 19th and ending January 24th. General registration February 2nd to February 8th, and then late February 23rd, and runs right through to the end of the school year. If you have any families that you know of that are going to have a new child going into kindergarten, strongly encourage them. I'm putting on a session with the IT team on November 24th at 6 p.m. with partnership with DPAC. And we're going to do a Zoom session showing folks not only how to register, but go through the whole process, but answer any of their questions around registration, what sort of documentation they need, review what they can do before the registration date, and just try to take the unknowns out of the whole process. So that is my report. Any questions? I know I threw a lot at you.
Sorry, David, just one thing. Are you able to just speak a little bit about the update on portal with the new features that were added to registrations and that kind of stuff?
Sure, yeah. So on the 15th of this month, November 15th, we upgraded our registration portal system. In the past, it was only used for kindergarten for the next school year and grade 8, like grade 7's registering for grade 8. We now have a K to 12 registration system that basically runs 365 days of the year. It's for registration, it's for transfers, and it's for withdrawals. So what advantages that has is if a family moves into Maple Ridge or Pitt Meadows on a weekend, they can go to our website, go to the parent portal, and they can type in their new address, find their catchment school, and register their children over the weekend for programming that would happen the next week. Also allows families who are moving away to deregister their children. It then comes up on the dashboard for our school staff, and parents can also request transfers between schools. So it's really a one-stop shop. It also, as a school district, will give us a unique advantage that we've never had before. We usually have to wait for the first week of September after we've done the attendance to really know how many students did we lose over the summer, how many students are now coming in because schools are closed and people are not able to register because it was paper-based. This will allow us actually, principal or senior team or clerical, to look at it at any time, day or night, to see what the registration is throughout the school year. Did I answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, I know it just came out, and so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to share sort of how that works, and we can pass that on to our parents.
The other thing that I might want to mention, because we did do a session at our elementary principals meeting with the principals today. I've got 2 CUPE training sessions that are happening early next week. I think it's Monday and Tuesday, and another training session for our principals happening next week. This is a new process. So we actually had a parent register right away on the first day, and we had to follow up with the school and walk them through the process. So it's a new system that everyone's learning. I think it will take, a few days for everyone to sort of get their sea legs, but once it's rolling, I think it's going to be very efficient. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. And Chris knows my contact information. You're more than welcome to send me a quick email, and I can answer any of your queries.
Yeah, thank you, David. I think we might have lost Tanya, and we've got a. Just give me one sec. She was having internet problems before. Tanya, are you here?
I think we lost her too.
Okay. Thanks, David. And I also just want to say, I think part of leadership is doing collaborative leadership. And I really like what I've seen in the school district, particularly this last year. We've had deputy superintendents, we've had assistant superintendents all coming to report for the district. And that's really important that we demonstrate that, not only as PAC executives to sort of follow that similar kind of collaborative leadership where we're all sharing the information, we're sharing the workload. I mean, I know sometimes that's hard in the PAC, but I think the district, from my view anyway, has done a really good job of demonstrating that collaborative leadership in the last year, and I really like to see it. So thanks, David, and all Yovo's been, and Shannon, and all the other Sherry's been, and all the other people that within the district, the leadership team, and all that contribute to the conversation, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I think we're a very collaborative team. And what I like about Maple Ridge Pitt Meadow School District is we're a small enough school district, it still feels like a family. And, you know, you can walk into the district office and know everybody. So I do appreciate that about our district.
All right, thank you, David. And we'll go right along to, I think, I know that Carleen sent her regrets. She had another meeting, but we do have Elaine Yamamoto, and congratulations to Elaine, who was elected last night again as the vice chair, as Carleen was reelected again as the chair for the school trustees. So welcome, Elaine. And I know Mike is here and Pascal is here, and I might have missed someone else. Sorry, I haven't seen anybody, but anyway, thank you for all being here. And for our school trustees, go ahead.
Pascal will be, Trustee Shaw will be reporting out for us this evening. Thank you.
Well, you've just taken away my introduction there, Chris. Thank you very much. I was going to, I know you were all just waiting, holding your breath to see who was elected our new board chair. And we have Trustee Carreras as our chair again, and we have Trustee Yamamoto as our vice chair. And I think all of us couldn't be more happy for a number of reasons. I don't think that anybody can prepare you for becoming a trustee, but I know nobody can prepare you for becoming a trustee in the middle of a pandemic. And the amount of well, it's just a whole lot different. So we appreciate everything that the two of them do in conjunction, of course, with senior staff. And it's been an incredible 3 years of unexpectedness. So thank you for the two of them for putting their names forward. There's a couple of things. We had our board meeting last night, and it was attended by 50,000 people, I think, on YouTube. No, I think there was 8, but our numbers are going up. So we're going to work on that. Maybe some kind of, I don't know, we'll add some humor. We got to do, maybe give out gifts. We got to do something to get our numbers up, because it's kind of embarrassing. So
We need a llama, Pascal.
Well, that might be frowned upon, but we'll see. So we learned about the district had put out a survey, strategic facilities plan survey. And there was a very good response to that survey. There was over 1,100 people that responded. Now, I've always been one of those parents that filled out every survey and, attended every meeting and whatever. So for me, and over 15,000 students in the district, I find that to be a very low number. It's a good number compared to other surveys that we've run in the past. But I have to say that I'm disappointed that more people haven't taken the 10 minutes to fill this out, because I know that there's literally thousands. But we have 1,100 responses. It's being tabulated right now, and at the January board meeting, I believe we'll be getting some more details. And I have a message now that says my internet connection is unstable, so if you lose me, sorry. We talked a little bit about the upcoming BCSTA Trustee Academy, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. And going back to the, for people who are considering running in the next election, trustees aren't born. They're just people that have an interest in making education better. And the training that you receive while you're a trustee is really important. And I'm on the provincial learning committee, where we work together to try to come up with meaningful learning opportunities for trustees to just do a better job. And so we have an in-person academy coming up in 2 weeks. We haven't had any in-person academies now for, I think it's almost 2 years. So we're all looking forward to that. The only little bit of a wrench in it is the weather activities that took place this weekend. There will be I'm aware of a number of trustees in different districts that are just, it's desperate situations for them, and they will not be coming to the convention, the academy. And my heart goes out to them, what they're dealing with right now. We had that inconvenience on Monday morning, and their whole worlds have been turned upside down. So hopefully we'll be able to share our learning in another way with the people that won't be able to come. And I guess lastly is last week, we had a special board meeting where we voted to not implement any vaccine mandate. And I think that everybody involved breathed a bit of a sigh of relief, including we received a number of emails from parents and staff from the district. And I think everybody is breathing a sigh of relief now, and we can move on. It was a very stressful time for everybody. And that's over. So that's encouraging. And I know everybody wants to go home, so that's all I'm going to say. I thank you for having me here, and I did appreciate listening to the racial walking towards racial inclusivity and equity. I did have the privilege of seeing that presentation a couple of months ago, and it's something I look forward to hearing more about in the future. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I think Trustee Murray, there was another point that was raised in our meeting last night that.
Okay, I think Trustee Murray was going to be here to announce a very exciting something. So if Trustee Murray's here, he can do that. But maybe he's not here.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
There you are.
And happy to do that. Many of you might have heard about the Ridge Meadows Education Foundation. It was a fundraising organization established by the school district in 2005. It is independent from the school district, and it administers right now about 23 donor fund agreements. And those are agreements that we enter into with people who have donated significant sums of money. The interest of which is used to fund scholarship programs for graduating students in our district. And on Monday, we signed one more agreement, fairly significant agreement, with a donation of $1 million from Gary Lycan. It was to establish the Gary and Nanette Lycan Scholarship. It is intended that the funds will earn enough money to cover one scholarship a year given to a graduating student who intends to study in the area of the sciences. And it is for full tuition, not only for their first year, but for every year up until the end of their graduate studies. So this particular scholarship award could amount to as much as $48,000 for every student who is awarded this over the next many years. It is intended to be an endowment fund, so we're hoping that what we're able to earn with that $1 million will be sufficient to cover the program. So pretty significant donation, and the reason we're letting people know about it is obviously we want to let people know that there is such an organization that does receive and administer those kinds of programs, those kinds of donations. And naturally, we're interested in letting others know who might have a spare $1 million that they want to share, or much smaller amounts of money to do the same thing. And I am the trustee representative on the board of the Ridge Meadows Education Foundation. That's why I've been asked to speak to this. So thanks, Pascal and Elaine, for letting me do that.
I just wanted to follow up and see if anybody had any questions.
Someone asked about the name again.
Yeah, it's the Gary and Nanette Lycan Scholarship.
It's Lychen.
LLY
Ly.
YCAN.
I got it right.
And just a little bit of background. Gary, I happen to have known for many years, and he studied chemistry right up to the point where he just about finished his grad studies, and then had his third child, and ended up going to work to feed the family and so on. And I think that might be part of the motivation for trying to help as much as this will help. So, most of his working life has certainly been in Maple Ridge, where he's been involved in real estate and development and that sort of thing. And so it's his way of paying back to the community.
No questions, I guess that's it.
Thank you very much. That is very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? No? Okay. And now who do we have here from MRTA? Do we have anybody tonight? It doesn't look like it. No. Okay. And anybody here from QP? No. Okay. And nobody from the PVPA either. Carrying on. Treasurer's report, Paulina.
Hello, everybody. I'm just going to wait till the next slide comes and shows me the numbers. Okay, so in our gaming account, we have $6,480.60. Our general account has $5,814.38, still the same, for a total of $12,294.98 as October 31st, 2021.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions regarding the treasurer's report? No? It's an amazing graphic, Chris. Old business. PAC 101-201 workshop. It is available on our YouTube channel. We do have the PowerPoint PDF with links, and we're available to provide your PAC with brief PAC 101 presentations at meetings if you wish. Chris, did you want to speak more regarding this?
No, not really. It's just that the original presentation that's on YouTube is lengthy. It's about 2 hours. It was either too short or not long enough. It was a combination of both, but it was our first one. So if anybody sees it and has any feedback, would like to see something more or less, please email us and let us know, and we'd be happy to include or exclude it from future presentations, and we can do a much briefer one, 20-minute one, and then we would redirect anyone to the larger presentation if they wish to, but certainly we can touch on, especially if your PAC has any specific questions, we can certainly talk about those. So just email us and let us know, and we're always happy to be welcome as a guest at your PAC meeting, and and give you a brief presentation on that. So just to let everyone know that it is available for anyone who wants to watch it. It's there. There's also a link at the bottom in the comments to the PowerPoint PDF, and all the links mentioned there are accessible from the PowerPoint PDF. So you'll be able to see it from there.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions regarding that? I did see a comment that Alouette is interested in having a presentation done.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do, and just email us and let us. I think we know when your PAC meetings are, so let us know which one you would like us to come to, and we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I was just saying we have a PAC meeting tomorrow, but I've already been in touch with the chair because I was able to make part of your presentation. Can't remember the date, but the other Saturday that you did it. So I definitely think we'll be following up with you for Alouette.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Coming up, we have a special Zoom presentation next Wednesday at 6 p.m. It's open to all parents, and it is our first ever kindergarten registration, phases and program options. So we do ask that you pre-register, and hopefully this will be very informational. I know on social media there are a lot of questions coming up for like the next 4 months probably on how you register your kids for kindergarten and how do you choose your schools and everything like that. So hopefully this kind of helps out and calms some nerves, and definitely encourage your friends with kids heading to kindergarten in September to join.
Will be the best presentation ever.
Great, thank you. Pascal?
Well, I think that you just answered my question there, but is this presentation, is there somebody from the school district that speaks to the presentation? Is it DPAC that is speaking? I've never been, well, you've never had one, so explain how that works.
It is, it's
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that there's something like this that exists, because I think kindergarten for families who've never had children in school is a scary place.
It is. And
so
it is David presenting.
Yeah, myself and the programming team. So I will sort of do a high level view, and then we're actually going to walk parents through the registration process so they've actually see it before the day arrives. So hopefully it will bring down the anxiety, because for a lot of folks, that's a huge thing, especially if you're trying to get into a choice program.
Yes, essentially
available that we can share.
Yeah, so the link, that's, well, you can see it now here, but it's included in that. Here, I can actually, let me see if I can put it. Give me a minute and I'll pull it up and I'll put
That's
it
okay. That's okay.
Chat,
I just want to make sure that I can share that, because that's super important. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I believe it is being posted on Facebook, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that we've included it in parent Facebook groups across the district, and because we have many parents, especially first-time parents, and we've already had a number of people register already that don't have access to portal, that we can't, say, oh, here, here's your information. It does rely on social media, word of mouth. I know I've talked to Strong Start to have them put it out to their parents. Many of them are first-time parents. So maybe David, if you can make sure that they get the link. I'm not sure if they've got it yet or not.
I will make sure. Yes.
Okay, and I know I've passed it on. I passed it on to Erica, and I know that she's passed it on to a couple of others as well. But yeah, it's at this point it's just word of mouth, and DPAC is just helping to sort of facilitate the Zoom meeting. We're helping with the registration and getting the information out there, but given the success that we've had with the grade 8 registration session nights before, we thought it was a good idea to start with the K registration, and David and his team have graciously agreed to do that. And yeah, so this is our first one, and yeah, it's all basically district information from the district senior team. We're just helping to facilitate the meeting and the Zoom portion and all that stuff.
And I shout out to DPAC and asking for this, because I think it's timely and important. So thank you.
Yeah, a lot of parents still think that, yeah, you see questions about like, do we actually have to like wait out overnight for French immersion? And it's like, no, that was like 15, 20 years ago. You just have to be online at the right time, because it is time stamped. So there's things like that, and it's changed a lot. So it's a good way for everybody to be on the same page and have all the correct information. So Looking forward to that. Any questions regarding that or no? New business. Appointment for the position of vice chair. Article 5, elections of executive officers. The executive shall be elected by the DPAC reps in May, June of each year. 3, in the event of a vacancy in the executive during the year, the council may elect or appoint the new officer by majority vote who shall hold office until the next election. Nominated for vice chair is Trish Koff, and she is from Westview. Okay. So we need a motion that the DPAC appoint Trish Koff to the position of vice chair. Moved. Paulina, seconded. Garibaldi. And is there any discussion? No. Pascal, did you have a question? Thank you. Okay, go ahead and launch the poll.
Sorry, I don't know how to launch the poll.
I'll do it.
Thank you. I'll just give it another minute. And Trish Koff has been appointed to the position of vice chair. Congratulations, Trish. We're happy to be working with you. Okay, childcare engagement sessions are coming up. Family Connection Hubs, and Ministry of Children and Family and Childcare BC, Ministry of Children and Family Development. There is a registration link available, and these are held on November 29th from 7 to 8:30, December 1st, noon to 1:30, and December 4th, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And yeah, so that link will go out with the minutes, and as well as I believe it has been posted by us on Facebook as well, if you'd like to visit our Facebook page. Paulina? Oh no, you're just waving? Okay. Sorry, I was just talking to my husband.
Okay, we can address that. Certainly, Kanaka Creek has a question, and this is the perfect time, actually. Emergency kits. Kanaka is asking if emergency kits are provided by the district. Does anybody want to speak to emergency kits?
I know that Harry is currently working on that with a number of groups within the DEO, so I could get him to follow up on that for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Are there any questions? Anything else to be brought up for discussion?
If I might just add to the emergency supply kits, many PACs do provide funding for emergency supplies, earthquake preparedness, and that kind of thing. There has never been an obligation for PACs to do so. There's never been an expectation that PACs do so. There is responsibility under WCB. There is responsibility for municipalities. There's responsibility for the province. So it can be certainly a shared responsibility, but it never was the intention, whether PACs do or not, it never was the intention for PACs to provide those resources. So if you choose to do so, that is totally up to you, but I just want to make sure that everybody knew that was never the intention for PACs to provide funding for those.
Thank you, Chris. Anything else anybody would like to discuss? No. The SD42 DPAC Safe Active School Travel Committee, it is being chaired by Trish. If you would like to email DPAC to participate. Trish, did you want to speak about that for a bit at all?
So I sit on the Yenadin Active School Transport, because I've got one child in Westview and one in Yenadin. We started an active school transport committee at the school to address some of the concerns that parents had with regards to safe travel for their children if they're not traveling by car. And we've been working with the city and the school district, as well as the principal and administration staff at the school, to come up with some solutions to some of the issues that we're having with the crosswalks and lack of sidewalks and parking. So we thought that it would be a good idea for the district to have a DPAC level active school transport committee to help facilitate the discussions that some schools can have if they're having similar issues.
Great. If anybody's interested in joining Trish on that. Great, thank you. And is there anything else? Pascal?
I'm going to choose my words very carefully here. I just wanted to encourage everybody to once again use their voices and participate when they can. I was recently on the active transportation committee for the city of Maple Ridge. I'm no longer on that committee. Last year we tried to, we formed a task force and we worked hard at an active transportation project. Unfortunately, the city did not grant an extension and shut the project down essentially. And one of the things I learned while I was on that committee was that there was virtually almost no feedback from parents in the school district. And I think it's another one of those cases where we are all so comfortable complaining amongst ourselves or within our association or our school, or the parents in the morning, that sometimes we forget that there are other levels and other places that we can take our concerns. And I was really disappointed to hear that. I think that there was, I don't want to say the wrong number, but I believe they said one or two people had approached them in the last year or two with concerns that they had. So it's just a reminder to take it to the next level when you have concerns, and not to just assume that because it's being talked about at a DPAC meeting or in the parking lot of your school that things are actually happening. So there is an active transportation committee in Maple Ridge, and it sounds like this would be something that there should be a connection to. But as I said, I have to choose my words carefully. I'm no longer on that committee, and I just wanted to share that information. Thank you.
Thanks, Pascal. Is there anybody else with any comments or?
I just put a comment in the chat about that. I actually received an email today about the public engagement from the city perspective. So definitely maybe something that the school district wants to look at, that committee, making sure that they get the message out to provide the feedback and engage in that process too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the city's perspective is on that because I know our school alone had one or two issues that they brought before the city. So unless they're talking about the one or two issues that our school alone brought forward, which I seriously doubt, I'm not really sure what they're talking about, that there is only a couple of people.
I know our school had an issue and we ended up forming like a Facebook group just for the neighborhood, and Chelsea Meadus actually joined, and we had a Zoom with her and she took it to council. So, and that was for part of the incident, the issues with 232nd. So, yeah. So you can work with the city for sure, and your local schools and your local parents, and you need to reach out. And, but I think working together as a collective group like this, I think is going to be great. Maybe get on the same page and get all the schools. All right. Anything else for tonight? No? Okay, can we get a motion to a Lady and Dudney trunk? Yeah. Yeah, that was right in front of the church on Lady. And that was awful. Okay, can we get someone to move to adjourn, please? Garibaldi, seconded. Wanick. Thank you. And start the poll.
I tried again.
New Meow Mix from Purina, the cat food with 3 separate flavors in one package.
Chris, your timing for your
Flavors that
cat
cats
is
love best:
impeccable.
Tuna, liver, and chicken. Meow Mix tastes so good, cats ask for it by name.
Does DPAC have a new sponsor?
Yes, yes, we do. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. And we will see you December 16th. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Trish, for, oh, hang on a sec.